Hey, today we will have the topics of e-commerce and e-business. Okay, you probably already aware that e-commerce is a booming business. A lot of people going into e-commerce business. Ordinary people like you and me, we can get involved into e-commerce, selling or buying something from the internet or using the internet. We conducted business using internet like internet banking, paying our bills, paying tuition fees, transferring money, getting some product from somewhere using the internet and so on and so forth. Let me share you this screen. Okay, can you see this? The lecture slide?
Yes, Pak.
Okay, good. So, e-commerce or selling product using the internet as the media of transaction is not new. It's started around 1995, okay? And at that time, a lot of companies starting to go into e-commerce with the of internet growing in the US. So a lot of companies try to capitalize on that. A lot of people trying to sell something over the internet. The trend was also reached Indonesia in around the end of 1990s decade. So it's around 1999, 2000s. Okay? A lot of people were so eager to join the e-commerce. Even at then the second biggest telecommunication company in Indonesia, Indosat, they create a website called Indonesia Interactive. It's similar to what Tokopedia and Bukalapak had now. So the idea was to have Indonesian small business that doesn't have money and expertise for e-commerce to sell their products. So Indonesia Interactive is basically a marketplace or electronic mall. Unfortunately, in Indonesia, the e-commerce at that time was not successful because there are few constraints. First, only 16 million of internet users in Indonesia. And at that time, the only payment method acceptable was paying transaction with credit card. A lot of people didn't have credit card, doesn't have now. And those who did have credit card, only a handful that willing to try e-commerce. And also the only 16 million people have access to the internet compared to the latest data for 3 or 4 years ago. 100 millions of Indonesian citizens have access to internet. Okay, so it's very, very different. And also nowadays you can see that there are plenty of methods of payment. You can transfer through the bank, you can use credit card, you can use a debit card, you can pay a transaction at your local convenience stores like all the Indomart or Alfamart. I just found out yesterday that there is one site that has a lot of short courses, Udemy. Udemy accept payment from Dana, accept payment from Alfamart and Indomart. So that's a huge leap forward. Okay. In the US, if you can see the slide here, there's also increase of e-commerce growth. Okay. But around 2000 and 2001, there was a problem with the e-commerce companies, which called the .com bust or .com booms, where a lot of company that has domain name something.com went bankrupt. In the US, the failure of e-commerce was attributed to first the lack of business model, appropriate business model. It means that they don't know what they sell, and if they have got a proper business model, they don't have revenue, or they don't have sufficient revenue to sustain their business. Okay, and a lot of those companies couldn't handle the new business. They thought that they can get away with having no physical infrastructure. As long as they have the website, that's it. But that's not enough. Only a handful of companies that can survive the .com burst or the .com bankruptcy in 2000. One of them is Amazon. Okay. Why Amazon able to survive? Because they are clear in their business model, which is selling books at that time. Nowadays, Amazon become retail giants. Another survival of those era is PayPal. You probably unfamiliar with PayPal, because it's not that familiar in Indonesia, perhaps. But one of the founder of PayPal become so rich that now he is funding a lot of moonshot project, a lot of project that probably fell into the category of science fiction. The PayPal founders that should become so rich, among others, one of them is Elon Musk. Okay. Elon Musk is one of the founder of PayPal, so he got so rich from PayPal, and then you know what he becomes. Another founder of PayPal was Peter Thiel. You probably didn't know him very well, but Peter Thiel is one of the rich people that finance a lot of politicians in the US. Even if I'm not mistaken, he was also a significant contributor to the Donald Trump presidential campaigns back in 2016. Okay. I don't know about this year whether Peter Thiel support Donald Trump or not. Okay. In Indonesia, also a lot of companies, like I said earlier, Indosat trying to get into e-commerce, but they fail. And there are a lot of other companies. You probably never heard the company called Astaga.com, Satu Network, okay, and a lot of only few companies that survived the .com era. First is a small computer store called Bhinneka. You probably know Bhinneka.com, but Bhinneka survived because they have physical store. So e-commerce at that time was only for side business, not the main business. The second survivor of .com era in Indonesia is, you probably know this, the news website Detik.com. So Detik survived the .com era. Why? Because the Detik business model is very clear, providing the news by the second. That's why they call it Detik. Okay. Now, what's the unique features of internet and web e-commerce? We'll discuss this one by one. So first is ubiquity. You can access it everywhere. Right now, even if we didn't do this work from home, school from home, lecture from home, even if we were sitting in a classroom, you still can conduct transaction You can still purchase something from Tokopedia or Shopee or Bukalapak. You can sell your product through, you probably receive order from a marketplace, perhaps. You can do it while you are sitting in a classroom listening to lectures. Okay, so geographical place is not a problem most of the time. Okay, unless your product is a time-sensitive product like fresh food, fresh seafood, or something like that. And so it's reduced transaction cost. Transaction cost means the cost of participating in market. You don't need to build a website. You don't need to have a sophisticated system. What you need to do, if you have something to sell, go to marketplace, okay, sign up for their service and sell your product. That's it. With the cost of probably internet connection, you can participate in the market. The second feature is global reach. I used to buy stuff from China, US. Still buying books from Amazon, for example. I'm buying a short course from Udemy, which with the provider of the course came from Australia, Germany, US. Okay, so they can trust. The only thing that prevent a lot of people buying products from overseas now is the taxation. A few years ago, the government of Indonesia didn't tax any products that cost less than $100, but now they moved the limit to $3. So it's much more expensive now to buy product from overseas, but used to be very cheap. I found a books, very old books that has not been printed, out of print, in Barnes and Noble, and it's cost me just like 250,000 rupiah to buy and send that book to Indonesia. Okay. Universal standard. You can participate in transaction. You can buy or sell your product using your Android mobile phone, your iPad tablets, or your Mac computers, or your Windows computers, or whatever. As long as you can connect to the internet, you can send and receive data. That's it. That's what you need, and everybody can participate. Richness. Okay. You not only see the product, you can have the description, the video, and everything. Some product probably not suited to be sold over the internet. For example, perfume. Okay. Unless you're very sure about the smell of that perfume, it's very hard to try perfume. Clothing, especially to see whether that piece of shirt or pants will be fit to your exact body. But other than that, there are plenty of multimedia data about the product. You can see the unboxing, you can see other people reviewing the product before you buy. Interactive. You can engage with the seller or the buyer, if you're the seller. You can see other people using that product, reviewing that product. Before you buy a product, you can find the review of that particular product from other people, from industrial publication. See, for example, when I want to buy electronic gadget, I'll go to trade magazines and they will have a lot of review about a particular gadget. And there are plenty of information available. You can compare prices among seller. You can compare prices among products that has similar class. You can compare Samsung Galaxy S series or Note series with iPhone, for example. If you go to e-commerce website or marketplace like Tokopedia, Bukalapak, they'll provide you information about the product price, the price for sending the product to your place, administration fee, handling fee, things like that. So you know what you're paying for. Okay, and it will enable merchants, the seller, to engage in price discrimination. For example, if you buy during certain, like the current promo, the 11/11 promo, if you buy at this time, you'll get special discount. If you are in certain area, you'll get free distribution fee. I mean, you don't have to pay for shipment, free shipment. Okay, and you can personalize. Every time you log into the marketplace will provide you with the information about the product that they thought you might interest you. If you buy, I don't know, cracker in the past, then the marketplace will provide you with cracker-related product. If you buy a skincare product, they probably will offer you another skincare product, things like that. It's social. It means that you can communicate with other customers, with the community, to see what's the information, usually honest information or public information about a product or about a company. Okay, and that's the feature of unique feature of e-commerce. Okay, so what's the effect of the internet on the marketplace? First is reduce information asymmetry. In the 90s, when I want to buy a computer, I have to go through a lot of computer stores to gather information. And most of the time, in the old days, the seller will have more information about the product compared to the buyer. So the buyer will have less information, and that's called information asymmetry. The seller probably know that, say, this is a car seller. The car seller will probably know that the car will break down after a year, so they can only offer 1 year warranty. The buyer didn't know that, especially for a new car. However, nowadays the information asymmetry, the difference information possessed by the buyer and the seller become almost similar. That's reduced the information asymmetry. The buyer can have as much information as the seller. So, for example, if the buyer know that after a year a car would be broken, then the buyer could negotiate better warranty, or they can negotiate better prices to compensate broken after a year. Okay, and it's flexible and efficient. When I was buying computers in the 90s, I have to go to a lot of computers show, computer stores to gather information. Nowadays, it's just with the click of a button, I can get the information that I need, where to buy, much is cost, the warranty, things like that. So it's lower, and it's enable dynamic pricing. Dynamic pricing means, for example, if you sell something, dynamic pricing will be obvious in the old days before the pandemic in airplane ticket. The further you book a ticket or buy a ticket, it will be cheaper than compared to if you buy the ticket on the last minute. Okay. So with this, people will, the producer will be able to reduce or increase the switching costs. Okay, you can switch to other seller that provide or offer better price. Switching is easy. increase market segmentation and more disintermediation. This is disintermediation. The one that successfully eliminate the intermediation, which is the distributor and retailer, that the manufacturer can sell directly to customer. You can see if the manufacturer using distributor and retailer, they will sell the sweater for $8.50. If they go through the retailer directly, they'll save about $8. But if they go through the customer directly, it will cost only $20. So the difference is about $28, and that's the cost of distribution. The one that can in the US that has been able to do this is Dell Computers. Dell sell their computer directly to customer. Dell in the US at least doesn't have distributor or retailer. They don't have any shop. There is one kiosk or shop in Australia for Dell computer, but they don't accept any order. They just for showcasing Dell's product, Dell's technology. You cannot order the product there. You cannot buy the product there. You have to go to Dell website and order. When I bought my first Dell computers in 2003, for the similar spec, Dell will have $500 cheaper compared to the competitors like HP, Acer's, at that time what's the other computer, AST, things like IBM, things like that. Okay, so Dell will be $500 cheaper with the same spec. Why? Because Dell could cut the distributor and retailer. Yeah. So let me. Okay. So let me get my. Okay. So. In e-commerce, there is a degree of digitalization. Okay, what most e-commerce did is transaction. This is the one that immediately can be digitalized. You can order the product through the internet, you pay for the product through the internet. Okay. The second is the product itself. Can you digitalize the product? Obviously, with a product like food, clothing, perfumes, groceries, you cannot digitalize that product. But what if the products, things like music, film, books, picture, or any of those things, you can digitalize the product. Okay, so you can digitalize the transaction. You can order a CD or DVD, and then the product will be in digital. The third thing that can be digitalized is the distribution. Okay. So companies like Google, companies like Netflix, Spotify, they have been able to digitalize these three aspects of e-commerce. They can digitalize the transaction. You can subscribe to Spotify or Netflix, paying digitally using credit card or any other way. That itself digitals, music, film, Amazon, they can sell electronic books, things like that. And the distribution, instead of sending you the physical product, they will send you digital product. Okay, so let's make us do this, the digital goods. So you can deliver the digital goods over the digital network, like music, video, software, newspaper, books nowadays. That's why a lot of printed newspaper business all over the world and Indonesia having difficulties. Okay. And the difference between digital goods and ordinary goods is the production cost. Okay, if you produce, you probably familiar with the concept of production cost or cost of goods sold in cost accounting or managerial accounting. If you want to calculate cost of production, you need to calculate the fixed cost and variable costs. Okay, fixed cost will be fixed for a certain amount of product. Variable cost will fix for 1 unit of product. Digital product is quite unique. The total cost of production is just for the first unit. If you produce a song, all the costs to record, edit, and then mastering multiplication, or if you want to make the copy of the song, it's easy. Just like when you make a copy of your digital files in your computer, right click, copy and paste somewhere. It's as easy as that. If you copy digital music or digital files in any files, how much is cost? Almost zero. It's just for you to right click, select copy and paste it somewhere. That's it. So if, for example, the cost to produce Wonder Woman movie, the first Wonder Woman movie is about 400 million something, if I'm not mistaken. How much is cost to make a copy of it? Almost zero. Okay. In the old days, if you want to make a digital copy of a song, for example, you have to produce CD. But even then, with the CD, empty blank CD, the cost of blank CD is quite cheap. The next big cost would be for distribution, sending the CD into music stores, displaying the CD in the shop. That's cost a lot of money. But if you deliver the product through the internet, that will be cheaper. Okay, you just upload your song or movie or books or whatever to sites like Spotify, Netflix, and that's it. Every time a user enjoy, listen, watching, or read the product, you will receive royalty. Okay. Okay, that's the digital goods. The cost of producing is only the cost of the first unit. The cost of producing second, third, and how many millions unit after that is almost zero. Okay. There are three types of e-commerce. First is business to consumer. This is retail, where you buy something from the producers. Business to business, this is between the companies. And consumer to consumer, which is things like marketplace, actually, or not consumer to consumer properly, but individual to individual. OLX is one of them. Okay, and there is a platform of mobile commerce, things like Gojek, OVO, that's fall into mobile commerce. Now, like I mentioned to you earlier, that in 2000 in the US, there are plenty of failed e-commerce company. And why they fail? Because they don't have proper business models. Business models is how the company generate revenue. Okay. There are plenty of e-commerce business models, portals. This is old business model. Let me show you. probably um, okay, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Sorry, there was a
Yes.
good, thank you. There was a disturbance in my network. I don't know why, but it has been acting up. Okay, so okay, e-commerce revenue model advertising. This is where Google, Facebook, Twitter, and other social media gain the revenue. So basically, companies like Google, even if they claim as technology company, if you look at their main revenue, Google and Facebook is just advertising company. Okay. The second revenue model, obviously sales. You sell something. Amazon selling something. And then subscription. This is companies like Netflix, Spotify, Disney Plus. Okay. You subscribe to their services and you can enjoy their service. Another subscription services like Dropbox, Google Drive, if you want more than 15 gigabytes for free account, if you want more storage capacity, you can subscribe. There are free or freemium model. This is like Spotify also. You can enjoy Spotify for free, but if you use the free account, you have to face with limitation. If I'm not mistaken, for Spotify, for example, if you own a free account, you can only skip track for 5 times at a time. You have to listen to advertising every half an hour. If you can bear with it, you can enjoy Spotify for free. Transaction fee. This is like banking, for example, or marketplace, Tokopedia, Bukalapak, they will ask for transaction fee to handle the transaction between the buyer and the seller. And also affiliate. You affiliate with other website, for example, company like AirAsia or CityLink, they can work with hotels to provide you airplane ticket and hotel. Now, with e-commerce, it's very easy to identify customers. For example, if you go to Shopee, you open Shopee application in your mobile phone, Shopee immediately able to identify you, not by name perhaps, but they can identify your device, they can identify your location, they can identify your habit, like at what times you access Shopee, what kind of product you look at Shopee, and they can know what kind of product that you end up buying, how much, when, the days of the month that you make transaction, when, the day of the month that you just looking around. Okay. And therefore, companies like Shopee, Bukalapak, Netflix even, they can reach larger audience inexpensively. Okay. If I'm not mistaken, the cost of putting advertising, a full page advertising in Kompas, printed Kompas newspaper, can cost up to 5 billion rupiah. And how many people see that? Actually, reading and enjoying the advertising, nobody can tell. Okay, but with e-commerce, the e-commerce company can make sure that you see advertising. Okay, so if you open, say, Bukalapak, then Bukalapak can show you specific advertising for specific product. And then Bukalapak can tell the advertiser, the people who pay for the advertisement, oh, these students at Atmajaya Yogyakarta University, they just see the advertising. They immediately close the advertising. Or this particular student not only see, but they click on the advertising. So that's what the capability of e-commerce technology. Okay. Track your visit. Okay, they can track your purchase. They can track how many rupiah you spend on a specific month. They can compare your purchase pattern from month to month. Okay. That's all the data that can be gathered from this. Another development in e-commerce is the social e-commerce. Means that you not only interacting with the seller or the buyer, but you interacting with the fellow buyer or fellow sellers. Fellow seller, once I was handling, you probably remember I mentioned that I handled development of photographer.net at that time. Photographer.net at that time also have a forum for buying and selling photography related products. And the sellers in that forum, they talk to each other. They tell if some customer trying to manipulate transaction, they will try warn other sellers that a particular customer try to scam or to fool the buyers, and also the buyers also talk to each other. They will warn other buyers about dishonest seller, things like that. Okay, so they have interaction with their fellow or community of buyer and sellers. Usually with social media, there is a growing trend that we can use social media for marketing or even selling. You probably see a lot of Instagram or TikTok or any other posts that try to sell some things, product placement perhaps. Some brand will endorse by celebrity or people with a lot of follower in social media, things like that. Okay, and that can be used for marketing. Not only marketing in sense of business, but also political marketing. You probably remember in 2016, Facebook was involved in scandal where apparently some company manipulate Facebook data and Facebook user to campaign for certain political candidates. Cambridge Analytica, the company, they use Facebook data and manipulate the user to pick certain candidate in the US and also in some African countries. Okay. Any other community that has been evolved from social media is the crowdsourcing. You know, a website like Kitabisa, for example, that you can set up a campaign to help someone who, need money. Okay. In the US, there is a Kickstarter. This is a website where if you have an idea of a product, but to actually build the product, you can ask for money. And then in exchange, the donor will receive the product or, small token of appreciation, stickers perhaps, things like that. Now, B2B, this is the business to business e-commerce. If you pay, for example, your bill, if you pay for your product using bank transfer, that would go through the business to business e-commerce network. This is where one side of the business, the buyer or the seller, is a company, and the other side is also a company. Okay. When .com companies went bankrupt in 2000 in the US, business to business e-commerce not only survived, but they were thriving, expanding. Like you can see in the US, business to business trade in 2014 valued at 13.8 trillion US dollars, while the e-commerce is only 5.7. So it's more than double the value of e-commerce. Okay, so a lot of technology being here. For example, electronic data interchange. This is used for banking transaction. If you send money from your bank to another bank, that will be using electronic data interchange. Oh, private industrial network. Okay. In Indonesia, there are a lot of business-to-business e-commerce. One of them is belonging to the government. This is the e-catalog. Let me see if I can show you the e-catalog of the Indonesian government. This is the e-catalog for the Indonesian government. See, any companies can participate in e-catalog. They can sell their product to Indonesian government. So if one institution, say the government of Yogyakarta, want to buy car, they can go to this. Okay, select location. This is the new version. I can't remember. Oh, anyway, if car, for example, where's this location? Oh, I have to log in. Oh no, yeah, this is the location. For example, city of Yogyakarta. Okay. If the city of Yogyakarta want to buy cars, for examples, you can see they can buy APV, for example, or any others. They can buy motorcycles. Oh, there is no trucks available. Okay, anyway. That's one of the biggest business-to-business. Okay. Net marketplace, also business-to-business is also a net marketplace. If you remember, you probably heard Alibaba. Okay. Why Alibaba can be that huge? Because Alibaba was originally used by the Chinese government for their e-catalog. Okay, that's why Alibaba become so big. Why? Because it was used by the Chinese government for their e-catalog, and now Alibaba was open to other players, not only Chinese government. The government of Indonesia also have that similar ambition. First, they just open the e-catalog for the government department, government agency, government, local government, things like that. And then they will expand it to be used by state-owned enterprise, BUMN, and then later they will have an ambition to open that to general public. And things like this. Mobile commerce. We already experienced this mobile commerce. You can, with a lot of fintechs, financial technology company provide mobile payment, GoPay, OVO, Dana, link aja, things like that. Okay, so it's a lot of development in this area. And with the advance, when during the pandemic, people are encouraged to pay using contactless payment, with OVO, GoPay, and things like that. Okay, and it's become very popular now. Okay. The pandemic gave us a very rare opportunity actually to push the use of technology, and that's good as long as the technology use not good for the pandemic. What mobile commerce can provide us? Location like Gojek, for example. If you order or Grab, if you order a motorcycle or car, they know exactly where you are. Well, at least within a few meters. Okay, they can advertise. If you're passing by a certain area, they can advertise certain restaurant product. If you go through the Trans Java Toll Road, you can find in Google Maps or Waze that a lot of information about the places that you're passing through. You can find information about gas station, obviously, rest area, restaurants, hotel, and any other tourism attraction. Other mobile commerce service, credit, mobile banking, account management. A lot of banking application now move to mobiles. Okay. If you see, even the CIMB Niaga office in our campuses has been closed and replaced with digital lounge. Now, what's the e-commerce challenges? First, obviously, what do you want to do with e-commerce? A lot of companies fail because they don't know what to do with e-commerce. They think e-commerce is just side business, or like in 2000, they think e-commerce can replace the old business. Amazon, one of the survivor of 2000.com bankruptcy, they were able to survive because they invest in infrastructure. Amazon built distribution centers, warehouses all over US, and that cost a lot of money. See how much money spent by Bukalapak and Tokopedia and Gojek to be where they are right now. Millions and millions of dollars, billions even. Because building infrastructure is very costly. Okay. That's what. Second, choosing the right technology to achieve those objectives. Gojek was one of the success story in Indonesia, where because they know that's the time is right to have this kind of service, because a lot of Indonesian people have mobile phone, smartphone, and they can utilize smartphone for their business. Okay, that's the material for today. Any question about our material or any other issue relating to our courses? Anybody want to ask question or asking about assignment? Okay, so if there is no question, I'll stop my lecture now and see you next week.